this journey together. Have you ever trusted someone with your life only to realize too late that they were hiding something so sinister, so dark that it could destroy you? That's exactly what happened to Laura Matthews in the fall of 2000. Laura was the kind of girl who believed in the best of people. We were students at the University of Kansas back then, and she had always been the quiet, intelligent one in the group. But when she mentioned the research trip to Costa Rica with her roommate, her face lit up with excitement. She said it was her dream to travel, to see the world. She trusted her roommate completely, someone she thought she knew well. But what Laura didn't know was that her roommate was hiding a dark, deadly secret, one that would change everything. The trip seemed perfect at first. They arrived in Costa Rica and everything was just as they had hoped. Beautiful, serene, a paradise for research. But soon the story took a dark turn. A week into their trip, Laura disappeared. At first, everyone assumed she had just wandered off for an adventure, that maybe she had gotten lost. But when her body was found days later in a remote field, stabbed over 10 times, the horrifying truth began to unravel. Have you ever had the ground disappear beneath your feet because you've just learned something too horrifying to comprehend? That's what it felt like when the police revealed the betrayal behind Laura's death. The person she trusted most, her roommate, had conspired with locals to have Laura murdered in cold blood. This person who had shared meals with her, laughed with her, helped her plan the trip, was secretly plotting her death all along. Can you imagine the terror Laura must have felt in those final moments, realizing that the person she had trusted was behind it all? The very thought sends shivers down my spine. The roommate had orchestrated everything, luring Laura into a deadly trap. The betrayal was almost worse than the murder itself. How can you ever truly know someone? The person sitting next to you, living with you, could be hiding something monstrous and you would never even know. The investigation revealed more twisted details. The roommate had been planning this for months, smiling in Laura's face, all the while plotting her demise. It makes you question everything, doesn't it? Who can you trust when even those closest to you are capable of such evil? Laura's death left a dark stain on the university, one that I still feel when I walk across campus. And if that unsettles you, just wait. The darkness is only just beginning. Now imagine waking up in the dead of night to find a shadow standing over your bed. That's exactly what happened at Florida State University in January 1978. It was supposed to be an ordinary night at the Chi Omega sorority house. The girls had been laughing earlier in the evening, planning for the weekend, never suspecting that terror was about to creep into their lives. What they didn't know was that a man had just escaped from prison, a man who was more predator than human. He prowled the streets, waiting for the perfect moment, and that night, he found it. He broke into the Chi Omega house while everyone was asleep, slipping silently from room to room. The darkness in his heart was unfathomable. There were 4 young women inside that house, 4 lives hanging by a thread. He attacked them with terrifying efficiency, leaving behind a scene of absolute carnage. Anna Bowman and Emily Levy never had a chance. Can you even begin to imagine the sheer terror of waking up to a stranger standing over you, his shadow blotting out the faintest glimmer of hope? The other 2 women survived, but they would never be the same. The memories of that night, the horrors they endured, would haunt them for the rest of their lives. The scene inside the sorority house was so brutal, so filled with violence, that even the investigators were shaken to their core. What kind of monster could do something like that? But the horror didn't end when the police caught the killer. No, it lingered, seeped into the very walls of the Chi Omega house. To this day, people say the house feels off, like the terror of that night never truly left. The air is thick with the energy of something wrong. Would you be able to sleep in a place that had witnessed such unspeakable horror? Could you close your eyes, knowing that at any moment death might be lurking in the shadows once again? For the students who came after, The stories of that night became legend. Whispers in the dark, creaks in the floorboards. Every sound, every shadow seemed to carry the echoes of that brutal night. What if you found yourself in that sorority house today? Would you be able to sleep peacefully, or would your imagination start playing tricks on you? And just when you think things couldn't get darker, there's the story of Helen Woods. Her tale is one of injustice, betrayal, and a ghost that refuses to rest. In 1978, near Nebraska Wesleyan University, Helen Woods was brutally murdered in her own apartment. The police arrested 6 men and the case seemed closed. But the truth was far more horrifying. In 2008, after those men had wasted decades of their lives behind bars, DNA evidence revealed that they were innocent. They had been wrongly convicted. And the real killer? He was never found. Can you imagine the injustice of it all? 6 innocent men rotting away in prison while the true murderer walked free. And Helen Woods? Her spirit was left wandering, her death unresolved, her killer never brought to justice. And then, the sightings began. People started seeing her, Helen Woods, or at least what was left of her. Her spirit, restless and vengeful, began to haunt the area. At first it was subtle, cold spots in rooms, strange noises in the middle of the night, but soon students began to see her figure standing in the shadows near her old apartment. Pale, lifeless, her eyes filled with sorrow and rage. They say she's looking for justice, that she won't rest until her true killer is found. But what if Helen's ghost isn't just seeking justice? What if she's looking for something more? What if she's searching for someone to take her place among the restless dead? I'll never forget the first time I saw her. It was late, probably around midnight, and I had been studying at the library. The campus was eerily quiet as I made my way home. There was something unsettling about that night, something in the air that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. As I passed by the street where Helen used to live, I felt a sudden chill, an icy breath of air that didn't belong, and then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw her. She was standing by the window of her old apartment, her figure barely visible in the dim light. Her face was pale, almost translucent, and her eyes were dark, empty, hollow. She didn't move, didn't speak. She just stood there, watching me. I wanted to scream, to run, but I couldn't move. It was like the very air around me had frozen solid. And then, just as suddenly as she had appeared, she was gone. But the feeling, that cold, paralyzing fear, stayed with me long after. Would you have turned away? Or would you have gone closer? Curiosity pulling you toward something you couldn't explain, something that defied all logic. That's what makes Helen's ghost different from all the others. She doesn't just want to be seen, she wants something more. She's searching for something, or someone, and you never know when she might come looking for you. People have heard her footsteps late at night, echoing in the empty hallways of the university. Others have felt her presence, a cold, unrelenting force that follows them through the darkness. Some have even claimed to have spoken to her, though few are brave enough to share what she said. The fear never really leaves. It's like a shadow, always lurking, always waiting to strike when you least expect it. So, do you think you're safe? Walking home late at night, the street empty, the wind howling through the trees. Maybe you'll feel that familiar shiver, that cold breath of air that makes your heart race. Maybe you'll hear your name, whispered softly in the darkness, and when you turn around, nothing. Or perhaps, something far worse. The truth is, we never really know how close we are to danger. Whether it's a friend hiding a deadly secret, a stranger lurking in the shadows, or a ghost seeking justice, the danger could be right beside you, waiting for the perfect moment. And sometimes, it's not just the living you need to fear, so do you feel safe now? Because if these stories have taught me anything, it's that fear is never far away.